This next story is a good story. It's about my lieutenant, our platoon leader, and we're going to call this one My Lieutenant Dragging His 9mm. So, we had a 3-truck section, and my platoon leader and my platoon sergeant used to rotate in terms of who would TC the third vehicle. So it was myself as the lead vehicle, and then Sergeant Thomas was always usually in the trail vehicle, and the middle vehicle was manned by the same driver and same gunner, but my lieutenant and my platoon sergeant would rotate who went out on patrols with us. And it was a pretty even split, so it's hard to tell sometimes when I tell these stories. It's hard to remember who was out on the route with us, the platoon leader or platoon sergeant, but nonetheless, all that stuff kind of blur together when you're running, 2 missions a day for 7 days a week for an entire year. So it's impossible to remember every single day and every single mission, but there's certain ones that stick out in your mind, and you do your best to help retell that story. But this particular mission, we ended up, I can't remember why we had to travel to Route Cuervo, which is we had 3 FOBs within our brigade sector. We had FOB Eagle, which was in the northeast of Solder City. And then we had FOB Iron Horse, which is the one we lived in, which was right on Route Pluto, southeast of Solder City. And then we had Camp Cuervo, which was further south down Route Pluto. It was our largest of 3 bases. It had the largest area, and it also had the largest population of soldiers within our brigade. And it's also where the larger medical, aid station was. It was where our FA battalion was headquartered. 1st Battalion, 82nd Field Artillery was headquartered there. So that was where, as a field artilleryman, that's where our battalion commander and sergeant major lived. But we were attached to the brigade reconnaissance troops, so we actually fell underneath the brigade. Well, we fell underneath the engineer battalion that was living on FOB Iron Horse along with us, but that didn't mean that we still fell in line with the field artillery battalion. And anytime there was a meeting, like an FA battalion meeting that was happening, my lieutenant would have to go to that. And I can't remember, that might have been what we were going down there for. But they also had the largest PX out of the 3 FOBs, so we often stopped by there to pick up some Looky Chewies or whatever we wanted to get. So, it could have been that we were just out on patrol and wanted to stop by there and grab some stuff. Regardless, we ended up through Cuervo, and when you stop in at any FOB in that whole area in Baghdad, you always had to go through what's called clearing barrels. And the clearing barrels is just pretty much what it sounds like. They're just some, metal barrels that are half filled with sand that are probably laying at a 45-degree angle. They have a hole or a square cutout in the center of it, and you stick the end of your M4 or your 9mm or whatever you're carrying into the hole, and you point it down into the sand, and you clear your weapon. You make sure that you drop your magazine, you pull back the charging handle, you observe the breech of the weapon. You release the charging handle, you squeeze the trigger so it clicks, make sure that there's no round stuck in there, and then you put the weapon on safe and you're clear. And you basically, you do the same type of principled thing with 9mm or whatever you got. So that it's clearing barrel, so you clear your weapon, so make sure, because you've got your weapon with you, all day, every day, all night, every night. I mean, it lives with you, it's part of your body. So it's just a way to make sure that you're not walking around amongst other people with a hot weapon or a loaded weapon. So we go through our clearing barrels, and everybody clears their weapons out. And Lieutenant Han is in ends up in the lead. So he's the lead truck. I'm behind him, and then Sergeant Thomas is behind him. And I can see as soon as the lieutenant gets in, like his 9mm falls out of his holster onto the ground, and then he closes the Humvee door. Well, the 9mm is still attached to his lanyard, and this is like a spaghetti cable lanyard. A spaghetti cable, kind of like almost like a telephone cord, how it's kind of spiral, like that, a little bit heavier duty. But so his 9mm is attached to that, and that's attached to, you know, his holster. And he starts driving away, and this 9mm is just being drug on the ground next to the truck. And I think I'm the only one that sees it, so I'm trying to save a little face for my lieutenant and try to mitigate some embarrassment on his part. And I called him up on the radio, and his call sign was Rogue 14. And I'm like, hey, 14, and my call sign was Rogue 1. I'm like, Rogue 14 is Rogue 1. Can you stop the vehicle real quick? And he was like, no, I'm late. I gotta keep going. I'm like, no, you don't get it. Like, 14, you need to stop. And I didn't want to, like, say it over the radio because there was probably, and I was talking on our platoon net, not on our troop net, but still, there might be other people up in our FOB Iron Horse listening to our platoon net. So I didn't want to say anything over the radio, but I'm trying to be really adamant about him stopping this truck. And it doesn't matter what I use to try to lure him into being convinced to stop his truck. It doesn't work. He just keeps going. And of course, we've got to travel all the way through the FOB, you know, at, you know, FOB speed, what, 5 miles an hour or something like that. And, oh man, this thing is just bouncing all over the place, all over the ground, just being drugged like, just a disciplined puppy, man. It was ugly. And I couldn't get him to stop. And finally, this guy that was walking, I think he was walking like to the maintenance bay or something, but he sees our convoy coming up the road, and you can see my lieutenant's 9mm just banging around outside. He runs up to the truck, he's like, stop! He stopped. Next thing you know, all I see is my lieutenant's door open up and his hands stick out, and he just starts pulling this lanyard, and I get to see the 9mm just slowly work its way up into the truck, and then the door closed, and then we keep going, and he comes over the radio and says something stupid like, you know, 1-4, this is 1-4, you know, thanks a lot, or something like that. I'm like, dude, I tried to get you to stop your truck, man. I don't know what else to do. But to make matters worse, you know, everybody ended up hearing about it, and it just turned into this really, really funny story. And we got back to our FOB, and one of my guys, I forget who it was, but he took like a lanyard and he tied it off to a flashlight, and he started walking around our building, dragging this flashlight behind him. He's like, "Who am I? Who am I?" And the lieutenant saw him, and oh man, me and my whole section got smoked by the lieutenant for probably 45 minutes. That was the first time I've ever been smoked by a lieutenant, but it was for a good cause. It was awesome. Anyway, and I went to his wedding after we redeployed back, myself and our second squad leader, Staff Sergeant Fonder, and we went to his wedding. And that's what I got him for his wedding gift, was a brand new 9mm holstered lanyard, just in case he needed to tie something off and keep it safe and sound. But anyway, love you, sir. This one's for you.